2:17 a.m. Eastern. Friday night sliding into Saturday. I'm Caleb Mercer. If you're hearing this, you found one of the last thin threads still hanging between strangers. I know how that sounds. I hear myself saying it and it still doesn't feel real. But here's what just happened, and why I'm on this frequency with a cheap mic and a power setup that is basically a pile of borrowed time. At 1:41 a.m., the entire AM band around here went weird at once. Not static, not normal fade. It was like someone took a hand and pressed down on the whole city. Stations that have been on for 50 years just stopped. Not signed off, not technical difficulties, just nothing. Then the no AA weather voice cut mid-sentence, came back, cut again, came back again. And after the third cut, it started repeating the same line like it was stuck. This is a test of the emergency alert system, over and over, with no end. I turned the dial fast, like I could outrun it. And then I got the message. Not an official one, not a clean one. It was a burst on a side frequency, shortwave bleeding into places it shouldn't, like someone had a transmitter in a moving car. A few words, clipped, like they were trying to fit a whole disaster into one breath. Do not trust the screens. Do not go to the shelters. Get off the grid. It played twice. Same voice, same spacing. Then it vanished. I didn't sleep after that. I didn't even sit down. I started doing what I've done for years when the world feels too big. I checked systems. I checked patterns. I checked if the things that are supposed to always be there were still there. Weather first. It's 34 degrees outside. There was rain earlier, the kind that leaves the roads shiny and black. Now it's quiet. Not the calm kind of quiet. The kind where you notice that even the far-off highway sounds wrong. Like traffic got thinned down to a trickle. I'm in northern New Jersey, close enough to the city that on a normal night you can see a faint glow over the trees. Tonight, that glow looks patchy, like somebody took bites out of it. Power is still on in my block. Not steady though. Lights are doing that tiny flicker. If you've lived through storms, you know what that means. It means the grid is holding, but holding with its fingernails. Cell service is there, kind of. If I stand near the back window, I get one bar and texts go through late. Calls fail. Data is basically dead. Social apps load and then freeze, like they're trying to show you the world, but the world isn't there anymore. I'm not saying this is the end. I'm not doing that dramatic thing where somebody talks like they're in a movie. I'm saying what I can see, what I can prove, and what fits the timeline. Because the timeline matters. If you're just waking up to this right now, and you missed the last 2 days, here's the shape of it, as clean as I can make it without turning it into a lecture. It didn't start with bombs. It started with small, weird things that didn't match. The first time I felt it was Wednesday morning, not because of something I saw on a screen, because of what my neighbor said when we crossed paths by the mailboxes. He's an older guy, retired, the type who listens to local radio all day. He said, "You notice they're not talking about the ships?" Like we'd both been following some missing story. I hadn't, so I asked what ships. He said, "The ports, the Atlantic. My buddy works Newark. Said the schedule got torn up. Said half the containers aren't getting cleared. Said they got told not to talk." That sounded like rumor. It sounded like one of those things people say when they're bored and need a reason. Then that afternoon, a freight train sat motionless near the industrial park for hours with no engine noise, no crew in sight. Just a line of cars parked on the tracks like somebody forgot them. People posted photos. then the photos disappeared. Not just from one site, from all of them. Like the posts got wiped. That got my attention. Thursday morning, the first official thing happened. The big news channels ran the same short clip across different networks at the exact same time. Same words, same footage. A man at a podium. No questions. We are aware of international tensions. There is no immediate threat to the public. Then they cut away like it was a weather update. No questions, no follow-up. And if you've watched how media works, you know that's not normal. Even when they want you calm, they let people ask something. They let a reporter pretend to push back. It's part of the play. The fact they skipped that part was the first crack. Then Thursday afternoon, the schools in 2 counties near me got early dismissal due to maintenance issues. Not weather, not security, maintenance. And in the same hour, 3 big employers told staff to work from home until further notice. That's not one broken pipe. That's a pattern. That's a script. And now it's early Saturday. Stations are blinking out. Government lines are silent. And a voice I don't recognize is telling people not to go to shelters. So what is this? I'm going to tell you what I think it is, and I'm going to tell you what I know is happening around us. And I'm going to keep my voice steady as long as I can. But first, I need to make one thing clear. This broadcast is not official. I'm not protected by anyone. I'm not reading from a sheet. I'm one guy with a transmitter, a notebook, and a mind that will not shut up. If you're in a place where speaking out loud is risky, you don't have to. Just listen. If you can write, write. If you can move, plan. If you can't, conserve. I'm on 9:10 a.m. right now because it's the cleanest gap I could find. If this gets jammed, I will try 760. If you have shortwave and you know what you're doing, check 6.915 at the top of the hour. I heard activity there earlier that didn't sound like hobby talk. Okay. Here are the early incidents that started my suspicion and why they matter now. First, the air travel pattern. You can look up flight tracking, or you could, up until Thursday night. Planes started vanishing from public tracking in chunks, not all at once, and not from one airline. Whole bands of the sky went private. That isn't just privacy, that's deliberate. Second, the weird emergency tests. Not the weekly sirens, not routine. I mean the way the alert tones started firing in the middle of broadcasts with no message after them, like the system got triggered and nobody filled in the words. That means either someone is hitting the switch by accident, or someone is hitting the switch on purpose to see what happens. Third, the quiet at the ports and rail. When goods stop moving normally, you don't feel it right away. People think collapse is dramatic. It isn't. It's empty shelves 3 days later. It's gas stations with cash-only signs. It's a pharmacy that can't fill insulin because the truck never arrived. It's a hospital that has power, but no parts. That's why I'm talking about trains and containers, because they're the veins, and when the veins clamp down, the body panics. Now, signs of escalation. Let me give you a list, not as bullets, just as a roll of things, because that's how it feels. A roll. Like a wave pushing forward and everything is either bending or snapping. Traffic lights in my town switched to blinking red around 9:10 p.m. Friday. That happens sometimes when a transformer pops. But this time, it wasn't one intersection. It was an entire corridor. Then they came back. Then they went out again. That kind of on-off suggests load shedding. Grid control. At 10:30 p.m., the local police scanner went mostly quiet, which is not normal for a Friday night. A few calls came through, but the usual chatter was gone. Then one short transmission popped. Hold traffic. Stand by. Stand by. No context. Then silence. At 11:05, 3 helicopters went north low and fast. Not the usual high, distant sound. Low enough that the windows vibrated. And if you've lived near a city, you know the difference between a news chopper and something else. News choppers circle. These didn't circle. They went like they were late. At 11:40, my friend Lena texted me from Queens. They're telling us to go inside. Streets empty. Police loudspeakers. Then her texts stopped delivering. At 12:20, the biggest grocery store near me closed early. The manager put up a sign that said, "System Maintenance." People laughed at it because it was so normal looking, but the employees looked scared. You can tell when someone is acting. They weren't acting. They were trying not to cry. At 1:15, the regional news website went down. Not slow. Down. Then it returned. But the headlines were different, like the whole front page got swapped for something pre-made. It's a feeling you get when you've been online too long. You can tell when content isn't flowing, when it's just being placed. And then, at 1:41, the band went quiet. That's escalation. Not one big event, but a chain of systems that are starting to behave like they're under control from somewhere else. Now, the after World War III scenario you're here for. The thing you're hearing behind my words. The idea that this isn't just a local outage, that this is a global break. Here's what I'm hearing from the slivers of info still getting through. I have a cousin in the Navy. I'm not going to say his name. I'm not going to say where he is. I'll just tell you what he wrote, because it was not like him. He doesn't do drama. He doesn't do conspiracy. He wrote one line Thursday night. If you're near a major city, leave before Saturday. No emojis, no follow-up. Just that. I have a listener. Yeah, I had listeners before this, believe it or not. Late night talk, local stuff, who works in municipal water. He called me Friday afternoon on a landline at my old studio number. That number is not public anymore, so he either had it saved or someone gave it to him. He said, "They're telling us to prep for pressure loss. Like, not a pipe leak. Like the whole system." Then he said, "They're sending state people in," and the line went dead mid-sentence. Pressure loss means pumps. Pumps mean power. Power means grid. It all stacks. And I heard from a ham operator out of Pennsylvania that he picked up an exchange on shortwave between two people using plain language, not codes, not call signs, just raw talk. One of them said, "Europe went dark at 1900 UTC. The other one said, "Don't say it like that." And the first one said, "It's gone. It's gone." Could be fake. Could be panic. Could be two idiots trying to scare people. But the pattern fits what my eyes are seeing. Controlled silence, and then system wobble. Now I'm going to share some theories. Not as this is true, but as this is what insiders are whispering and why it matters. Theory 1. Satellite disruption. If a major conflict hits space assets, GPS timing, communications relays, observation systems, you don't just lose maps. You lose synchronization. Banking networks drift. Cell towers lose clean timing. Power stations that need precise timing start to trip safety systems. It can look like 1,000 local problems, but it's one big invisible cut. Theory 2. Cyber first strike. Not a movie hack, but targeted hits on grid control, transport scheduling, port clearance systems, emergency alert routing. You don't need to blow up a bridge if you can stop trucks from leaving warehouses. You don't need to burn a city if you can freeze it in place. Theory 3. Limited nuclear exchange somewhere far away that isn't being reported because the goal is to prevent panic until plans are in place. I hate saying that. I hate that it even fits. Because if something happened overseas, Eastern Europe, the Middle East, the Pacific, and leadership decided the public can't handle it, they might clamp down hard to buy time. That means media blackout, unified scripts, and martial law-style control. Theory 4. Something even more basic. A chain reaction of misreads. One side thinks the other side launched. Retaliation happens. Systems go into wartime mode. Then someone realizes it's bigger than intended, and they try to plug the leak by shutting down information. That's how world wars actually start. Not with villains laughing, with scared people making fast choices. If you want my honest gut, it's a mix of 2 and 4. Cyber plus panic decisions. The systems are behaving like someone is pulling levers, and the people are behaving like they're not sure what those levers will do next. Okay? I'm going to take a call if I can. I have a patch line set up. It's not fancy. If it rings, I'll answer. If it doesn't, I keep talking. All right, it's ringing. This is Caleb. Where are you? My name's Darnell. I'm in Baltimore. I found you because everything else is gone. I'm driving around with the radio like an idiot trying to find anything human. Darnell, slow down. Where exactly in Baltimore? Are you safe? West Side. Near Edmondson. Look, I don't know what safe is right now. They shut the tunnel earlier. Cops everywhere. They turn the stadium lights on like it's a game day, but there's no game. The harbor it's weird. You can hear horns out there, long ones like ships are warning each other. Do you see military? Yeah, I saw 2 trucks, big ones with tarps, heading toward the base, and I saw guys at the intersection with rifles, not like local police rifles, longer, and they weren't talking to anyone. They were just pointing. Not pointing guns, but pointing people away, like herding. Any broadcasts? Any alerts? I got one alert on my phone like 2 hours ago. It said, "Shelter in place, do not travel." No city name, no details. Then my phone went into SOS mode and it won't come out. My girl's phone is dead. Not battery, like it won't even turn on. Okay. Darnell, listen. If you're driving, watch your fuel. And do not go toward big gathering points. If they're telling people to shelter in place, that might be because they want roads clear. Or because something is in the air. But you said no smell, no haze. No haze. Just cold. And that quiet you said. It's like the city is holding its breath. Even the corner guys are gone. That's when you know it's real. When the corner guys are gone. I believe you. Stay off major routes if you can. And if you have family outside the city, consider moving before daylight if you're going to move. Daylight is when checkpoints get tight. Yeah. Okay. Are we at war? Darnell, I don't have proof on paper, but the behavior looks like war, and the silence looks like they don't want you to know what kind. All right, I'm gonna keep listening. If this line dies, just keep talking, man. Don't stop. I won't. Be careful. That call matters. Not because it's dramatic, because it confirms the shape in another city. Tunnels restricted, armed personnel, mass messaging, dead networks. Here's what I'm seeing in my own area. And I'm going to be specific, because if you're writing this down, you need details you can compare. At 2:05 a.m., I drove past the municipal building. There were two unmarked SUVs with lights off parked near the back. People inside, silhouettes. Nobody moved. It looked like someone watching the place, not protecting it. I don't like that. It's a small town building. There's nothing there worth watching unless the building is being used for something else now. At 211, a convoy, yes, I'm using that word, went east on Route 46. 5 vehicles. 2 looked like standard military transports. 1 looked like a plain white box truck, no markings, like a company truck. That one makes me more nervous than the others. Marked vehicles at least tell you who they are. Unmarked tells you they want to move without becoming a story. At 2:16, I saw the first line at a gas station, even though it's the middle of the night. People standing outside their cars, tense, watching the road like they expect something to come around the corner. The station lights were on, but the pumps were off. The doors were locked. A handwritten sign, "No fuel, system down." People were arguing, but not screaming. That quiet anger, the kind that flips fast. That's what collapse looks like at the start. Not fire. Not mobs. A locked door and 10 people realizing a locked door can decide their whole day. I want to talk about the shelters because that message I caught said, "Do not go to the shelters." And because if you're in a city right now, you're probably thinking about shelter as your safest option. Here's the hard truth. Official shelters are good when the problem is weather or a local disaster. When the problem is war, shelters become control points. They become places where they can count you, direct you, move you, screen you, and keep you from moving on your own. That doesn't mean every shelter is a trap. It means you should think like a person who wants options. If you go to a shelter, you trade freedom for resources. Sometimes that trade is worth it. Sometimes it's the only choice. But don't make it blindly, because a screen told you to. Screens lie when the people behind them are scared. Now, I'm going to tell you what I'm doing, not because you should copy me exactly, but because the logic might help. I've filled every container I own with water. Bathtub, pots, jugs, even a cooler. Not because the water is about to shut off in the next hour. Because if water pressure drops, you don't want to be the person trying to fill a bottle from a dribble. I've charged everything, but I'm not leaving everything plugged in. Power surges happen in unstable grids. One surge can cook your chargers, and then you're done. I've put cash in my pocket. ATMs fail first. Card systems fail right after. I'm not saying money will save you. I'm saying it can buy you time if the old systems are still half alive. I've picked one person outside my area as a contact. 1. If texts go through later, I send short updates, not essays. Alive. Staying put. That's it. Keep it simple. And I'm watching the roads, because the moment the roads fill, movement gets hard. You want to either leave early or not leave at all. Leaving late is how you get trapped in a line with no gas. Okay, another call is trying to come in. I'm taking it. This is Caleb. Where are you calling from? Hi, my name is Priya. I'm in Newark. I'm on my apartment stairs because my building's elevator stopped and people are scared. I can hear, like, something far away. Like booms, but not close. Priya, what time did elevators stop? Around midnight. They jerked, then stopped. Then the hallway lights started flickering. A bunch of people came out because they thought it was a fire drill or something. But there's no alarm. Just weird. And the cops came and told people to go back inside. But they wouldn't answer questions. Do you see smoke? Fire. No. No smoke. The booms are like, not sharp, like distant thunder, but the sky is clear. I'm from Florida, I know thunder. This isn't that. It's like pressure. That could be any number of things. Construction blasts, heavy impacts, even industrial accidents. But if it's repeated and the sky is clear, that's worth noting. Here's the part that freaked me out. My brother is at Rutgers. He said the campus sirens went off earlier today, like the big outdoor ones. But the message on the website said, test. But it wasn't scheduled. And then they told everyone to stay in their dorms and not go outside. It's not storming. Why would they do that? That matches what I'm hearing. Shelter-in-place orders with vague reasons. Priya, do you have water? Food? Any medical needs in your building? We have some. People are sharing. One lady has insulin and she's panicking because she needs it kept cold. The fridge in her apartment is off now, like no power in her unit. Some units still have power, some don't. I don't understand how that happens. It can happen if a building is on split phases or different feeds, and one side is sagging, or if internal breakers tripped. But the bigger point is, your building is unstable. If you're on a high floor, think about whether you can safely move to a lower one if things get worse. Not right this second, but have a plan. Okay, should we leave the city? I can't decide that for you, but I can tell you the risk. Daylight brings control. Night brings confusion. If you leave, do it with purpose, not panic, and avoid the obvious routes. All right, thank you. Please keep talking. It's the only normal thing right now. I will. Stay close to someone you trust. 2 calls, 2 cities. Same feel. Systems wobbling. Orders without reasons. Pressure booms. Now, let me talk about the part nobody wants to say out loud. The silence from governments. When governments go silent, it's not because they have nothing to say. It's because they're trying to shape what you hear. A normal emergency has press conferences, updates, a stream. Even if they lie, they keep talking. This is different. This is sudden script lines, then gaps. It's like they're waiting for something, or like they're coordinating with someone else, and they can't speak until a shared clock hits a shared time. If you ever worked in an office where something bad happened, an accident, a lawsuit, anything, you know the feeling. Leadership disappears. Meetings happen behind closed doors, and the rest of you are left staring at your inbox. That's what the whole country feels like right now. And here's what scares me most. The emergency alert system is built to be loud. If they wanted to tell you something real, they could. They could hit every phone, every radio, every TV, and say, "This is what is happening. Here is what you do." They have that power. They aren't using it. Instead, we're getting half alerts. We're getting tests that aren't tests. We're getting maintenance issues, and out of an abundance of caution. That tells me either they don't know what's happening, or what's happening is so bad, they think the truth will break order faster than the event itself. And if you're listening to me right now, you already know which one feels more likely. I need to give you one more piece from an insider, and then I'm going to slow down and talk you through what the next 6 hours might look like, because people make bad choices at 3 a.m. This came from someone I trust who works in IT for a hospital network. Again, no names. He said their systems started doing weird authentication loops Thursday morning. Passwords failing even when correct. Access logs showing logins from places that made no sense. Then their backup phone lines started giving a busy signal, like the line was being held open by something. He said, "It's like someone is sitting on our throat. Hospitals are supposed to be protected. Even in war, you don't mess with hospitals unless you're trying to spread fear." So if hospital networks are getting choked, that points toward a bigger kind of conflict. Now, what happens next? Here is the honest answer. The next stage is either announcement or clampdown. Announcement looks like a clear message, a defined threat, instructions, coordination. It's scary, but it's stable. Clampdown looks like more silence, more restrictions, checkpoints, curfews, maybe communications cut fully in certain areas, maybe forced relocation in worst cases. Right now it feels like clampdown. So what do you do in the next 6 hours? If you're in a house, not an apartment, and you have a yard, don't waste your time staring at screens waiting for updates. Do the boring things that matter. Fill water, bring outdoor items in, charge batteries, locate flashlights, find shoes you can walk in. Put a small bag together, not because you're fleeing right now, but because when people panic later, you don't want to be packing while the world is loud. If you're in an apartment, think about stairs. Elevators fail. Smoke alarms fail. Water pressure fails. Have a plan to get down if you have to. If you have elderly neighbors, check on them if it's safe, because emergency services may not show up like they normally do. If you're in a city center, I'm not telling you to sprint into the night. I'm telling you to decide whether your survival depends on movement or staying hidden. Movement needs fuel, routes, and timing. Staying needs resources and discretion. The worst position is indecision. I'm going to keep talking as long as I can. If my signal drops, keep scanning. If you have a radio that can record, record. People are going to argue later about what happened when. Records will matter, and I want you to do one more thing if you can. Listen for patterns. Not rumors. Patterns. Are the lights flickering across a whole neighborhood or just one building? Are sirens constant or only in bursts? Are helicopters circling or traveling? Is the radio silent everywhere or only in some bands? Patterns tell you what kind of problem it is. Because here's the ugly truth about after a world war. The war isn't always happening where you are. Sometimes you're living in the echo of it. The broken supply lines, the broken trust, the broken grid, the fear moving faster than bullets. And fear is what makes people dangerous. I'm going to pause for a second and read out the few places I'm still hearing faint signals from, because if you're trying to find other voices, you need starting points. Shortwave around 6.915 had intermittent chatter. 5.110 had a numbers like cadence earlier, then went quiet. On FM, 101.9 had a carrier with no audio for an hour, just an empty signal like a lighthouse with no light. If you know how to use a scanner, check for local public works channels. A lot of police channels are encrypted now, but utilities sometimes aren't. And one more note. If you hear a clean, calm voice telling you to report somewhere, and the voice doesn't say who they are, and they don't answer questions, treat it like a trap until proven otherwise. I just got a text, late delivery, from Lena in Queens. It says, "They're blocking the bridge. Soldiers. Not cops. People yelling. Someone got pulled out of a car." I'm going dark. That's the first time anyone I know has used the word soldiers in a text to me like it's normal. So I'm going to make a call now, not to you, to myself. I'm staying on air. I'm not going to be useful if I'm driving around with a hero brain. I'm going to be useful if I'm a steady voice, even if my voice shakes, because somebody out there is alone in a kitchen right now, and the silence is loud, and they need one thread that says, You're not crazy. You're seeing it too. 2:36 a.m. Eastern now. Caleb Mercer still here. Same frequency. Same shaky power. If this is the moment you tuned in, I'm not doing the whole recap again. I'll stitch pieces back in as we go, but right now the situation is moving faster than my ability to make it neat. I want to start this part with something that happened 10 minutes ago that made my stomach drop. I have an old battery radio on the desk next to me, the kind with a cracked plastic handle and a dial that drifts if you breathe on it wrong. I keep it on low volume because I don't trust headphones anymore. Too easy to miss the room. While I was waiting for your next, I kept scanning, and I hit a station I used to know by heart, not the number, the voice. It was one of those late-night talk hosts, big personality, always joking, always trying to sell you vitamins. His voice was so familiar, I almost smiled, like a reflex. But he wasn't joking. He was reading a script, slow, flat, like someone had a gun pointed at the back of his chair. He said, "Remain calm. Stay in your homes. Do not approach government facilities. Do not attempt to travel to major transportation hubs." Then he said, "This message will repeat." He repeated it twice. Then the station cut to dead air. That's new. That's a clue. Because when they start using familiar voices to push a control message, it means they need obedience, not just awareness. Obedience. And when they need obedience, it's because something is happening that they can't manage if people move freely. So, this part of the broadcast is about movement and control, about what happens when a country that runs on highways and schedules starts to clamp down on both, about the first real signs of after war you can feel without needing a headline. I'm going to keep it human. I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to say what I know, and when I'm guessing, I'll tell you I'm guessing. First, the roads. I stepped outside around 2:25 and listened. That might sound pointless, but you learn a lot by listening now. On a normal Friday night, you hear a mix. Distant engines, random honks, someone's bass too loud, a dog, a siren far away. Tonight, it was thin, like someone turned the world down. Then, a single long line of engines. Not loud, not racing, just steady and heavy. It moved through like a slow river. I couldn't see it from my street, but I could hear the weight. That isn't normal traffic. That's a convoy or a mass of vehicles all moving with the same purpose. I got in my car and drove just far enough to see the main road without getting trapped in it. I parked in a dark spot behind a closed pharmacy. What I saw was a string of headlights, slow, packed, and weirdly disciplined. No one was weaving. No one was speeding. It was like a queue. And I noticed something else. 2 vehicles at the front had no headlights, just faint marker lights. That's a tactic. That's, we don't want to be seen from far away. You don't do that in normal life. Where were they going? Toward the interstate, toward the city, toward the bridges. And bridges. Bridges are the throat. Control the bridges. You control movement. We already have Lena's text about a bridge being blocked in Queens, Priya's report about Newark being tense. Darnell in Baltimore said tunnels shut. That's a pattern. Choke points. If you're listening from anywhere near a bridge, a tunnel, a major interchange, an airport, a rail station, assume those places are under control now. Not traffic control. Actual control. That means you do not want to be there unless you have to. I'm going to take another call if it comes in, but I'm not going to chase them. Calls are unstable. Some will drop. We keep going. Now, the first big after-war feeling. Supply shock. People talk about war like it's front lines. Most of us won't see that. What we'll see is empty shelves and weird rules, and a neighbor we've known for 10 years suddenly looking at our groceries like we stole them. Let me give you a real example from earlier tonight. At 12:50 a.m., before I went on air, I went to a 24-hour convenience store. I didn't go because I needed snacks. I went because those places are like sensors. They tell you what's happening. If the clerk is calm, the world is still mostly calm. If the clerk is sweating, you pay attention. The shelves behind the counter were half empty, not from a sale, from no restock. The clerk told me they didn't get their delivery Thursday night. Then he leaned in like he was sharing gossip and said, "They told us the trucks can't move. They said some highways are closed." He didn't say why. He didn't know why. He just knew the trucks weren't coming. That's war in a modern country. The moment trucks stop, and it spreads fast. Not because the supplies vanish instantly, but because people feel the change, and then they rush. The rush empties what's left. So if you've been thinking, "I'll just run out in the morning," you might find out the morning is already late. Now, the second after-war feeling. Information turns into a weapon. If you were alive during any big crisis, you remember the early stage. Too much info, too many takes, everyone talking. This is different. This is like someone cut the tongue out of the internet and left you with a few mouths reading the same sentence. That means the free flow is gone. I want you to understand what that implies. It implies someone has decided that truth is more dangerous than ignorance. And maybe they're right in one narrow way. Maybe panic kills. Maybe people stampede. Maybe riots. Maybe violence. But the cost of silence is worse over time. Because when people don't know what's happening, they fill the gap with fear. And fear doesn't need facts to grow. I'm getting a call now. I'm taking it. This is Caleb. Where are you? Hi. My name's Martin. I'm in Pittsburgh. I don't know if this is real or if I'm losing it. I'm at my sister's place. We've got candles out because the power keeps going in and out. And there's something on the highway. Like a line. Like cars. But also like... I saw a tank. I swear I saw a tank. Martin. Breathe. Tell me exactly what you saw. Where on the highway? Parkway East. I'm near Wilkinsburg. I looked from the hill. It's mostly trucks. Big trucks. And some stuff that doesn't look like normal military trucks, like low flat ones with big shapes. And yeah, one looked like a tank. Maybe it's not. But it looked like one. That's useful. Do you know if it was heading toward the city or away? Toward downtown? Okay, that's consistent. Major cities are being reinforced or controlled. Did you hear any official announcement in your area? No. That's the crazy part. We got an alert tone on the TV, and it just went black for a second, and then the TV came back with a local news anchor talking like nothing happened. Like smiling. It was wrong. Any sirens? Not a lot, but we heard something like a big horn earlier. Like a warning horn. Not a siren. Like a giant ship horn, but we're not near ships. There are industrial horns and train horns that can sound like that, but it's still worth noting. If you hear it again, note the time. Martin, I'm going to tell you what to do in the next hour. Keep lights low, conserve battery power, keep your car at least half full if you can safely do that. If you hear official orders to gather somewhere, don't follow blindly. And if your sister's building is stable, staying put may be safer than driving into unknown checkpoints. Okay, thank you. Are we getting attacked? I don't know if the attack is physical here yet, but yes, the country is under some kind of wartime posture. That's what you're seeing. Okay, I'm gonna keep listening. Thanks, Martin. That's 3 cities, multiple reports of military movement toward downtown areas. That's not to fight riots. That's too early. That's to secure infrastructure. Infrastructure means power stations, water plants, fuel depots, bridges, broadcast towers, hospitals, government buildings. If you're thinking, why would they do that? Because those places are what keep a society from turning into 100 little islands. And in a war, you either protect those islands or you control them, sometimes both. Now, I'm going to speak directly to anyone who is under 18 listening. Because I know you exist. People your age are up at night. You're scrolling. You're hearing adults whisper. You're trying to figure out if you're safe. If you're alone in your room right now and you're scared, I want you to do one thing. Find an adult you trust in your home and stay close. Not because you can't handle it, because decisions are coming and you shouldn't be the one making them alone. Okay? Let's go back to where this began, but not in a long history lesson. Just enough to set the after World War III frame you asked for. In the afterworld, you don't get a clear moment where the war begins for you. You get a chain of, that's weird. It becomes, that's bad. Then it becomes, that's everywhere. For the last 2 days, we've had signals of global fracture. Not confirmed, but consistent. Flight tracking, going partial dark. Ports tightening. Rail weirdness. Alert systems misfiring. Unified scripts on TV with no questions. Now military movement and localized clampdowns. What would a global exchange look like from inside the US before anyone admits it? It would look like this. Leadership tries to keep people calm, because calm keeps highways open and keeps fuel in place. At the same time, they move assets. They secure command sites. They prep continuity plans. That requires silence. And somewhere in that process, the public begins to notice the seams. Which is where we are now. Now I want to talk about the shelters again, because the mysterious message said, do not go to the shelters. And because that's the kind of line that can get you hurt if it's wrong. Here's the reality. Some shelters will save lives. Some will turn into cages. You will not know which one you're walking into until you're inside it. So the smartest approach is this. Treat shelters as the last option unless you have no resources, no safe home, or an immediate threat where you are. If your building is about to become unsafe, fire, structural damage, violence, then yes, shelters can be better than the street. But if you have food and water and a place where you can lock a door, staying invisible may be safer than standing in a line under floodlights. Now, a few insider tips. Practical, not dramatic. Water pressure is everything. If you notice your faucet is sputtering, that is your warning. Fill everything. Bathtub, sink, containers. Even if you think it's silly. If pressure drops all the way, toilets won't flush. That becomes a bigger problem fast. If you have a car and you can safely do it, top off before daylight. Daylight brings lines. Lines bring fights. If pumps go cash only, you want the cash ready. Keep a paper map. If GPS timing is disrupted, your phone maps can lie or lag. Even if GPS still works, traffic routing might push you into choke points. Keep shoes on or close. Sounds small. But in any emergency, the #1 mistake is being barefoot when you need to move. Don't broadcast your plans. Not online, not in group chats. Assume messages are delayed or watched. Keep details private. Now, I'm going to share something personal because you asked for the host's emotional arc, and because it's happening whether I want it or not. I'm tired, not sleepy tired. That sharp tired where your body wants to shut down, but your brain won't let it. I've been in emergency coverage before. Storms, riots, the kind of nights where the police scanner is non-stop and you feel like you're watching the edge of the world. But there was always a sense that the system was still there behind it. That if things went really wrong, someone would show up. Tonight feels like the system stepped back, like it's still physically present. Lights, uniforms, vehicles, but the part of it that speaks to you, that explains itself, is gone. And that makes you feel not abandoned exactly. More like you're on the outside of a locked door hearing people inside moving furniture. And I keep thinking about my dad. He used to tell me stories about the Cold War. He wasn't a big history guy. He was a mechanic. But he grew up with the idea that one day alarms might go off and you might not get a second chance. He kept a battery radio in the kitchen drawer. He kept water jugs in the basement. When I was a kid, I thought it was weird. I thought it was paranoid. Tonight, I wish he was alive so I could call him and say, "You weren't crazy." And I also wish he was alive because I want someone older than me to tell me what to do. That's the truth. I'm saying it out loud. I want to be the steady voice, but I'm also a person sitting in a room with flickering lights. Okay, another call is coming in. This is Caleb. Where are you? Hey, my name is Sophia. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm not sure if this is connected, but we had a weird thing at the airport earlier. My boyfriend works baggage. He said they shut down a whole terminal and wouldn't say why. Then a bunch of military people came in and blocked off an area. And then all the screens in the airport started showing the same blue message like, "Stand by." Like the computers froze. Sophia, that's very likely connected. Did he say if flights were canceled? He said some flights got delayed, but not canceled. But people were mad because they couldn't get updates. And then suddenly they were herding people out, like out of the terminal. Did you see any news about it? No, that's the crazy part. It should be on the news. But it's not. I checked. There's nothing. That's the pattern again. Airport disruption without public narrative. Sophia, tell him to keep his head down. Airports right now are going to be treated like sensitive zones. If he has a choice, he should not be there tomorrow. Okay? He's stubborn. He thinks he's essential. That's how they get you. Essential. Just be careful. All right. Thank you. Thank you for calling. Charlotte Airport, if that's real, and I believe it is, means control isn't just in the Northeast Corridor. It's spreading. Or it was always wider, and we're only now hearing it. Now I want to talk about what World War III could mean in practical terms without getting into a bunch of big political speeches. In a modern war between big powers, the first aim isn't to conquer your street. The first aim is to blind you, confuse you, and slow your ability to respond. That means hitting communications, satellites, power, and the public's trust. If public trust breaks, the country fights itself while the enemy watches. That's why the messaging matters. That's why unified scripts matter. That's why silence matters. Here's a possible chain, based on what we're seeing. Overseas strikes happen. Could be limited nuclear, could be conventional, could be cyber with physical sabotage. Satellites get jammed or taken out. GPS timing starts to drift. Networks get unstable. Banking and logistics start to fail. Leadership clamps down information to prevent panic. Military secures infrastructure and choke points. Cities get shelter in place, orders to keep roads clear and reduce mass movement. The public starts to notice because systems wobble anyway. People rush fuel and food. Violence starts at the edges. Then martial law becomes normal. We're between steps 4 and 6 right now. If you want signs that we're moving into step 7 and 8, watch for these. Gas stations switching to cash only or closing entirely. Grocery stores limiting items or employees walking out. Cell networks degrading to nothing, not just slow. Curfew announcements. Visible checkpoints, not just at bridges, but within neighborhoods. National Guard in places they don't usually stand. Hospitals restricting access. Schools closing with vague reasons. Trash pickup stopping. Trash pickup sounds silly. It isn't. When trash pickup stops, you're in the afterworld. That's when the city starts to rot. Okay, I'm going to read you something I wrote down earlier tonight, because it's the kind of detail that seems small, but might matter later. At 1:58 a.m., I heard 3 distinct bursts on the scanner band near the local utility frequency. The voice said, "Do not reset." Repeat, "Do not reset." Then a pause. Then, "Wait for confirmation." Wait. That suggests grid management. They're telling crews not to flip breakers back on without approval. That means there's a risk of damage, or they're balancing load carefully. Load balancing is normal during storms, but there's no storm right now, which means demand is spiking or supply is unstable. Supply instability could be physical damage, cyber control, or deliberate shutoff. Deliberate shutoff is something you do when you want people inside, when you want less movement. I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm saying it because you deserve to understand the logic of what you're seeing. Now, I'm going to slow down and talk you through a more personal thing. What it feels like to be in this moment, and how to avoid losing your mind to it. Because I can feel the edges in myself. The urge to check again, to refresh, to scan, to chase. That urge turns you into a hamster. And hamsters die from stress. The best thing you can do right now is pick a rhythm. Listen for 5 minutes, act for 15, rest for 10. Repeat. Action means water, batteries, food, warmth, safety, quiet. Rest means sit with someone, close your eyes, eat something, drink water. Do not just stare at the ceiling. If you are alone, write down what you're seeing and hearing. It gives your brain a container. Okay. Another message came through on my phone, delayed, unknown number. It says, "They're activating comm plan. Leave comms off. Don't transmit." No other info. That could be someone real. Could be someone messing with me. But it includes one thing that sounds real. Con plan is a term people use for contingency plans. If it's real, it means preparations are moving from theory to execution. If it's fake, it's still useful, because it shows what kind of language people are throwing around. Now, I'm going to do something I didn't want to do. I'm going to talk about the booms Priya mentioned and Martin mentioned, because I've been hearing them too. At 2:09 a.m., there was a low, distant thump, not close enough to rattle glass, but deep enough that you feel it in your chest more than your ears. Then nothing for 15 minutes. Then another. This could be any number of normal things. Industrial operations, rail coupling, construction, even distant thunder. But the sky is clear and it's cold, and the pattern doesn't match normal. If those are impacts, if those are detonations, then something is being hit, either as drills, controlled demolition, or actual attack. I don't have proof, so I'm not going to build a whole story on it. I'm just logging it here, with timestamps, because if later we learn a substation was destroyed or a fuel depot went up, these times will matter. 0209, 0224, 0233. Low booms, northeast direction from my position. If you're hearing similar, note your times and direction. Okay? I want to end this part with a choice point, because stories like this hinge on choice points, and we're at one. If the morning comes and nothing big happens, no blasts near you, no troops on your street, you will be tempted to pretend this was a weird night and go back to normal. You will be tempted to go to work, to school, to the store, like it's just a power wobble. But after war begins with that temptation, because normal routines are how you get trapped when the clampdown tightens at noon. So here's the choice point. Treat the morning as a preparation window. Even if you feel silly, even if your neighbor laughs, even if the news anchor smiles, because if you prepare and you're wrong, you lose a little comfort. If you don't prepare and you're right, you lose options. That's it. That's the whole logic. I'm staying on air. If my power dips, I may go quiet for a minute. If you lose me, scan. If you find me again, stay with me. 0301 a.m. Eastern. If the clock on your wall still agrees with mine, we're moving together through the same dark stretch. Caleb Mercer here. Same place. Same mic. Power dipped twice since the last time I spoke, but it came back. That alone tells me something. Someone is choosing where power lives and where it doesn't. I want to begin this part with a mistake I almost made. When the lights flickered again, my first instinct was to grab my keys, to get in the car, to go somewhere, anywhere. Movement feels like control when you're scared. Stillness feels like surrender. I stood there with my keys in my hand for a full minute, and then I realized I didn't actually know where I was going. Not really. I just wanted to not be here. That's how people get lost during the first night of something like this. They confuse motion with safety. So I put the keys down. I sat back at the desk, and I listened. And what I heard in the quiet between flickers told me more than driving ever could. There's a hum in the background now that wasn't there yesterday. Not a loud hum. A low, steady vibration that comes and goes. It's the kind of sound you hear near heavy infrastructure. Substations, rail yards, big industrial plants. It suggests load. Power being moved around, not just used. And every time that hum fades, the lights flicker. That means the grid is under stress, not broken, managed, actively. Which brings us to the next stage of this night, control through scarcity. I'm going to walk you through what that looks like, hour by hour, because people imagine it as sudden chaos. It isn't. It's a tightening. First, information tightens. We're already there. Then movement tightens. Bridges, tunnels, airports. We're seeing that. Then resources tighten. Fuel, power, water, food. That's starting. And finally, behavior tightens. Curfews, permits. Show me your papers without saying those words. We're between resource tightening and behavior tightening. That's a dangerous space, because people still think they can bargain with the old rules. I want to tell you about something that happened just after 2:45 a.m. that didn't involve soldiers or sirens, but scared me more than either. A neighbor knocked on my door. Not hard, not panicked, just a soft knock. I opened it halfway. He's a guy I've waved at for years. We've never really talked. He asked me, "Hey, is your power on?" I said yes. He said his wasn't. Then he looked past me into my living room, saw the lights, saw the radio setup, and his eyes changed. Not angry, calculating. He said, "If it goes out here, can I come back?" I said yes, because I'm not heartless. But after I closed the door, I realized something. Scarcity changes how people look at each other. Not instantly. Slowly. Like a dimmer switch. I'm not telling you that to scare you into thinking everyone around you is a threat. I'm telling you so you notice the shift when it happens. So you don't ignore it. Now, I want to widen the lens again. Because while we're sitting in our homes listening for flickers, something much larger is unfolding. I've been monitoring whatever fragments of international chatter I can still catch. Most of it is noise now. But a few things keep repeating, and repetition matters. First, embassies. Multiple reports from different countries of embassy staff being evacuated quietly. Not announced, not dramatic. Families moved first, then non-essential staff. That's a pre-war move, or a post-strike move. Second, financial freezes. I'm hearing about international transfers failing, not just delays. Failures, error messages that don't normally appear. That suggests either sanctions triggered suddenly or systems desynced badly enough that trust between banks broke. Money only works if everyone agrees it's real. War breaks that agreement fast. Third, military readiness messages. People with relatives in uniform are reporting sudden recalls. Not drills. Not scheduled training. Come in now. No details. Phones confiscated on arrival. That's not rumor. That's how militaries behave when they don't want leaks. If you're asking yourself, why haven't we heard about bombs? Why hasn't the sky lit up? Here's the uncomfortable answer. Modern war doesn't start with spectacle anymore. It starts with paralysis. You don't need to level a city if you can freeze it. And freezing a city looks like what we're living through right now. I'm going to take another call. The line has been unstable, but someone's been trying to get through for a few minutes. This is Caleb. Go ahead. Hi. My name is Thomas. I'm in Wichita, Kansas. I feel stupid calling because nothing dramatic is happening here. No soldiers, no checkpoints. But all the trains stopped, like all of them. My brother works rail. He says everything's parked. No explanation. Thomas, that's not stupid at all. That's critical. Where are the trains stopped? Yards? Lines? Everywhere. Yards are full. Lines are blocked. He said dispatch just told them, hold position. No ETA, no reason. Rail stopping in the middle of the country is huge. That's logistics. That's food. That's fuel. That's everything. That's what scared him. He said, they don't do this unless something's really wrong. Did he mention military involvement? He said he saw military police at one of the yards earlier today. That's not normal. No, it's not. Thomas, you're sitting in one of the most important places right now. The middle of the country is the spine. If the spine locks, the limbs go numb. If you can, stay near your brother. Stay informed through him. And don't assume that, because it's quiet there, it will stay that way. Okay? Thank you. I'll keep listening. Thank you for calling. That call confirms something big. This isn't just coastal or city-focused. The logistics backbone is being frozen. That's not a response to riots. That's a wartime posture. Now, let's talk about the human side again, because numbers and systems don't capture what this does to your head. It's 3 a.m. This is the hour when your thoughts get mean, when your brain starts whispering worst-case stories, when every sound feels loaded. If you're listening right now and your heart is racing, that's not weakness. That's biology. Your body thinks it's being hunted. The trick is to keep your mind from outrunning your reality. Here's how I'm doing that, minute by minute. I name what I can see. Desk, radio, cup of water, window, streetlight. I name what I can hear. Hum, wind, distant engine, silence. I avoid naming what I can't prove. Fear feeds on imagination. Calm feeds on observation. Now, I need to address something that's been sitting in the back of my throat since the first hour. The phrase, after World War III. People think after means it's over. It doesn't. It means the shape of life has changed, even if the fighting hasn't reached you yet. The after starts the moment you realize the rules you grew up with no longer apply. Like this rule, if something big happens, they'll tell us. That rule is gone. Another rule. If the power is on, things are okay. That rule is fading. Another. If I just go to work and keep my head down, I'll be fine. That one is the most dangerous to cling to. The afterworld doesn't announce itself. It seeps in. And once you feel it, you can't unfeel it. I felt it tonight when I realized I was rationing my phone battery without thinking about it. When I put my shoes by the door instead of under the bed. When I started speaking into this mic like it might be the last honest channel left. That's not drama. That's adaptation. Now, I want to share a longer insider account. This one came in as a voice message earlier, heavily delayed, but it finally played. I'm going to paraphrase, not quote, to protect the person. This person works in emergency management at a state level, not federal. State, which matters, because states often find out late. They said they were called into an emergency meeting Thursday night. No agenda. Phones left outside. The message they were given was simple and terrifying. Assume communications failure. Assume infrastructure disruption. Prepare continuity at the local level. They asked, from what? The answer was, doesn't matter. The effect is the same. That tells you everything. When planners stop caring about the cause and focus only on the effect, it means the cause is out of their control. It also means they expect cascading failure. Now let's talk about social order, because this is where things get unpredictable. So far, what we've seen is controlled quiet. People still mostly obeying. Confusion, not chaos. That can flip fast. Here are the pressure points that turn confusion into desperation. Medication shortages, fuel outages, food delivery stops, rumors of selective enforcement, visible favoritism, lack of clear communication. You can already see the first cracks. The insulin in Priya's building, the closed gas pumps, the stopped trains. If those don't resolve quickly, people will start making choices they wouldn't normally make. That's not because they're bad, it's because they're cornered. So here's my advice. and I'm going to say it plainly. Be boring. Do not draw attention. Do not argue with authority figures, even if you're right. Do not try to be a hero. Do not show off supplies. Do not spread rumors. Do not escalate. Survival in the early after phase belongs to the boring. I know that sounds weak. It isn't. It's strategic. Now I'm going to check the lines again. If there's a call, I'll take it. If not, I'll keep going. All right, I've got one. This is Caleb. Hello. My name is Rachel. I'm in Sacramento, California. I'm shaking. The power just went out completely. Like, not flicker. Gone. And there are sirens everywhere. Rachel, okay. Slow. Take a breath. Are the sirens constant or moving? Moving. Lots of them. Police and fire. And I just heard something on a loudspeaker, but I couldn't make out the words. That's important. West Coast power going fully out is significant. Do you have any light? Candles? Flashlight? Yeah, I have a flashlight. My phone's at 42%. Good. Conserve it. Are you alone? My roommate's here. We locked the door. Good. Stay put for now, unless you smell smoke or hear immediate danger. Did you get any alerts before the power went out? No. That's what scared me. It just went. Okay. Rachel, listen carefully. Blackouts like that can be safety shutoffs, or they can be intentional to clear streets. If you hear an order to evacuate or shelter, listen carefully to the wording. If it's vague, wait if you can. If it's specific and urgent, fire, flood, structural danger, then move. Okay. Is this happening everywhere? It's spreading. You're not alone. Stay with your roommate. Keep lights low. Stay away from windows if you hear unrest. Okay. Thank you. Please don't stop talking. I won't. Sacramento blackout. That's big. That tells me the grid stress is not localized anymore. We're going to see more of that. Now, I need to be honest about something, because this is a long broadcast and I don't want to pretend I'm unaffected. I'm scared. Not in a screaming way, in a cold, focused way. The kind where your body is calm, but your mind is cataloging exits. I'm scared because the pattern is too clean, too coordinated, too quiet. I've covered disasters before. This doesn't feel like a disaster. It feels like a transition. And transitions are dangerous because the old safety nets vanish before the new ones appear. But I'm also feeling something else. Resolve. Because talking like this, plain, slow, honest, feels like pushing back against the silence. If this is the after world, then voices matter more than ever. Even small ones. Especially small ones. I'm going to keep this going as long as I can. When daylight comes, things will either stabilize or harden. Either way, the choices people make in the next few hours will shape what kind of after they live in. Stay with me if you can.